Well guys, this is my last Fast and Furious review until Fast X. So yeah, this movie gets ridiculous, so much to the point of stupidity. It used to be that these Fast and Furious movies were ridiculous and over the top to the point of insanity, but now it has reached stupidity. But in saying that, I'm not too surprised that this movie got that ridiculous. In fact, I saw it coming. I knew that at some point the Fast and Furious movies would get to that point where they're so ridiculous that you end up just laughing at it instead of, being on the edge of your seat. I want to make this point very clearly now. I do actually enjoy this movie. It entertains me, which is all, like I've said this many times in my reviews. If a movie can entertain me, if I can enjoy myself while watching a movie, doesn't matter how bad it is, then it's done its job. And in my mind, it's a good movie. If it's at least watchable, then, that to me is a movie worth watching if it entertains you. This movie thoroughly entertained me, but not for the same reasons as the previous Fast and Furious movies. The Fate of the Furious, just to compare it to that one, was a much more serious film. Even though we're still over the top, it had a very intense plot point that the writers and the creators of that movie pulled on whenever they need to bring you back down to reality. This movie has nothing like that. There is no tension at all in this movie. It's literally just amusing and fun to see them do some of the craziest shit I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, Roman in this movie is literally a fish in a barrel. Literally. Like, I'm going to go into story details here, but Roman is in a ditch, basically. And around him, on top of him, are like 14 soldiers or whatever with automatic weapons shooting at him, and all he has on is like a metal vest or something, and he doesn't get a scratch on him, and he manages to kill them all. I mean, most people would look at that moment where Dom drives off the cliff, or this, or that, but for me it was early into the movie when that happened, when Roman managed to survive hundreds of bullets flying at his head. So yeah, regarding the action, it's still entertaining, but it's lost all tension. If there was any tension in the Fast and Furious franchise, this movie lost it. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I enjoyed watching this movie because it was funny to see them do the stuff that they were doing, because it's not realistic at all. My big problem with this movie isn't that. It's actually the story for this one, where I praised the story for The Fate of the Furious. I was really disappointed with the story for this one. Let me just start off on a positive note here. I really did enjoy John Cena in the movie, who is playing Dom's brother. John Cena, in most of his movies that I've seen him in, like Bumblebee, for example, which you will see my review for eventually, and Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, the TV show. John Cena in those roles can be a little over the top, because those roles require him to be that over the top, but for a Fast and Furious movie, he was surprisingly subdued. But like I said, the story for this, which revolves a lot around Dom and John Cena's character, Jacob Toretto, it was interesting. When the movie first started out and we're being shown Dom's past, which could have been really interesting and engaging had they done it a little differently. So we know from the first movie, The Fast and the Furious, that Dom's father died. At that point, we did know that he had a brother, but we knew that his father died and that he nearly killed someone with a socket wrench and went to juvie for it. Juvie or jail? I don't know. But what ends up happening is that Dom assumes that his brother was the reason for their father's death. Now, I can go all different ways trying to explain how he came to this conclusion, but there really is no explanation for it. Someone literally says something to him that triggers a memory in his brain, and he all of a sudden just points that blame toward his brother instead of talking to him about it. I'm not the only one that has mentioned this, but I have to admit, it's a big fucking problem, especially when you're talking about Dominic Toretto. This guy is literally all about family. It doesn't make any sense why he would do that. There's another problem that I have with the whole going back to the past and exploring their father's death thing. It's the fact that we are going back to the past. Like, if you think about some of the best entries in the Fast and Furious franchise, they for the most part, focus on the present, what's happening in the present. The Fast and the Furious was the first movie in the franchise, but it didn't cut back to the past at all. It fleshed out its characters and focused on the story in the present. Fast 5 did the same. It was a heist movie focused on the story in the present, didn't cut back to the past at all. The Fate of the Furious did not cut back to the past, focused on the story of the present. Whoever wrote this movie was thinking, oh, I'm going to try and create an investing, compelling story that deals with family, because that's what the Fast and Furious franchise does. But in order to do that, I have to cut back to the past a lot and show the audience things that they already know. So between that and the fact that Dom just betrayed his whole family values, I don't know. The story for this one just did not do it for me. Now, concerning Han, big fucking spoiler, but I mean, they put it in literally the first trailer that they released showed Han coming back, so obviously that's a big selling point for people going into the movie, but I would have enjoyed it if they didn't show that. Whatever. I don't mind it. I actually think the story for Han in this movie is okay. I kind of like it, but it does feel a bit rehashed, like they literally just did this with Letty. This movie doesn't do the same thing, but it does have a character from a past Fast and Furious movie that we thought had died, brings them back, and it's yay, woo, justice for Han. I'm excited about that, however. I'm excited of the concept of Han getting justice, however they choose to do that. Also, Cypher is back, one of my favorite villains in this franchise, played very well by Charlize Theron, and she doesn't do much in this movie. She's in the movie, but she doesn't do much. She does stuff near in the end, and I actually did enjoy that a little bit because they kind of toyed with the audience. They made you think that she had died. She didn't die, and while watching it, I was like, fuck, she's still alive. Because you hate this villain so much. Charlize Theron does such a good job as this villain. You want to see her die. So I'm excited to see what they can do in Fast X. But this movie, I'm at a weird state of indifference with this movie. I did thoroughly enjoy it. It was entertaining. There were things I liked about it, but on the other hand, there were things I really didn't enjoy about it because it didn't invest me as much as previous Fast and Furious movies. Anyway, that is my review for F9 or Fast and Furious 9, whatever the goddamn title is. I am really interested to see what you guys think if you wanted to comment down below at the end of this video, because I really want to hear what you guys think. Do you agree? Are you like me, like in the middle, or do you either hate this movie or love it? Where do you stand? I'm genuinely asking you, like, what do you think? Anyway, that's my review for F9. I'll see you at Fast X. Fuck, I'm gonna need a coffee for this one. Dom's reason for blaming his brother. Hey, brother. Entry in the Fast and Furious. I can't speak at all. Fucking, this is one of those videos.